It was 1975 when I joined.
Toastmasters or
thinking,
that
wait a
organization?
minute.
Wow.
And you have to be over 20 to join. So.
Are you going to reveal your numbers, your digits?
I'm just 66.
That was pretty revealing.
Ah, okay.
There's a
Nice.
song about that, Route 66.
Right.
Yeah. Medicare bound, you know, been my second year on Medicare.
All right. Well, let's move right in, and I'm sure that as we move along, we'll have maybe some more to celebrate. So we will see. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone to Advanced Toastmasters Online. Just a reminder, I think everybody here, we know how to do this. A reminder to mute yourself when someone else is talking, and then unmute yourself when you're talking. Sometimes there's background noises, and I'll try to do that as well. And if you'd like to adjust your view, you can do that on your side. I record based on how I see the camera or see the screen over here. And we do record our meeting. So just to let you know, if you don't want anything to be public, don't say it. If you have questions or notes for the speakers, do that. And I'm going to continue to remind everybody of this because I know every club is a little differently, and some clubs like encourage chatting like the whole meeting. And however, we like to do chatting in between speeches, so that way it doesn't pop up a screen while somebody's in the middle of their speech and it distracts them. And yeah, so I would like to call the meeting to order and welcome our Toastmaster of the day, Trisha Grow. Before I do that, I will go ahead and read our mission statement for this club, which is: we are an advanced Toastmaster club which supports Maverick leaders in creating greater impact by providing advanced feedback on online presentation and leadership skills and discovering what it means to be out-of-the-box innovative leaders. So with that, please help me welcome Trisha Grow. Yay!
Thank you very much. Welcome to Advanced Toastmasters Online. I will be your Toastmaster of the day. And just like any other Toastmaster meeting, I cannot run this meeting by myself. I'll have several people helping me. The first person I would like to call upon is not listed on the agenda. So we'll see if anyone would like to volunteer to be our counselor grammarian. Don.
I will be happy to do that. I will be counting. Do you want me to go ahead and introduce what that does? So as the counter grammarian, I will be counting the ahs, ums, ers, double clutches, which are the stutterings, which I do often. So I'll be happy not to count my own and get a free pass when you do that. I will also be looking out for creative uses of grammar within your speeches and languages today. So that's my job, and I will be doing that, except for myself. Free pass. Back to you, Trisha.
Thank you. And we also have an opportunity to be timer of the day. Is anyone willing to take a second hat? Thank you, Doug.
So shall I introduce the timer as well?
Yes, please.
Well, I think we all know how the timing works. In this case, keep my thumbnail in view when you're speaking so that you can see the timing lights, which are the little box here. So green for when you've reached a reasonable amount of time that you could stop. Yellow for when you're getting close to the end of your time and you should be stopping. And red if you have exceeded your allotted time and you should have stopped. And then I'll provide a report at the end.
Thank you very much. We'll go right into our first portion of our meeting, which is prepared speakers. Our first speaker is Dawn Nacera. She'll be speaking from Pathways Effective Coaching, Level 3, Increasing Knowledge, Deliver Social Speeches. This is a 3 to 4 minute speech, and the title is A Social Speech. Please help me welcome Dawn.
Yay! Thank you, Toastmasters. And today I would just like to propose a toast. So everybody take a glass, bring it up, or your hands. And I'd like to propose a toast to Rick on his birthday today. In his 20 plus, 30 plus years of being a Toastmaster, of being an exceptional human being who adds value everywhere he goes, and specifically for how much he cares for his community, I'd like to raise a glass and a toast. So that you can have a drink. I'm going to continue with my toast, but I'm thirsty, so let's go. Rick has been a valuable part of our club, always doing what he can to help out, show up, and always have a smile on his face. And I appreciate that, and I'm sure that we all do. One of the other things that he does in taking care of communities, I know he takes care of his community as a rabbi and helping people with their marriages. And that is an amazing thing that he does and has done for a while. And I wanted to just appreciate him and say thank you about that. And finally, the community that I want to give him a toast for is that community of his feathery friends that he takes care of, that it's been such a joy to watch him share a little bit of his care and keeping of his ducks and chickens in his backyard. So for Rick, for being it's a great honor to have you be a part of this club, to be a witness of your birthday, and to celebrate the way you care for your community. So thank you very much. Back to you, Trisha.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we all do appreciate you so much, Rick, having you in this club, and just your joyfulness and storytelling abilities. It's just wonderful to have gotten to know you and have you in our club. And speaking of storytelling, I have a feeling our second speaker is nonetheless Richard Weiler, DTM, and he will be speaking also from Pathways Engaging Humor, Level 1, Mastering the Fundamentals. And this is an evaluation and feedback first speech. And his title is Taking Flight. A dream of flight is very common for most boys, and Rick is no exception. Today, Rick is going to tell us all about his experience with aviation. Please help me welcome Rick.
Point of order, please.
Oh,
What is the timing for the speech, Rick?
oh, I'm
5
sorry.
to 7.
5 to 7, great.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Thank you, Dawn, for such a beautiful way to start my Toastmasters meeting today. And I haven't been a Toastmaster that many years, so that was a different organization, but I feel like sometimes I have, but anyway. So today I would like to talk about aviation, obviously. This is something that, as I said, most boys really dream about. I don't know about girls as much, but I know for myself, whenever I would be someplace and I'd see an airplane flying by, I would be looking up at the sky and, what kind of plane is that? Where is it? I wonder where those people are going. And occasionally when you'd see an Air Force jet flying by and leaving this trail of exhaust that we call skywriting, you look up and just imagine what it could be. I always found that exciting. I always found that a very special part of my being, just watching what's happening. So one day, back in 1979, I was on a ride with my ex-wife through New Hampshire, and we saw this little airport that said scenic rides. Never did I ever think I would do that, but I turned to my ex and said, let's do it. Okay. So we climb into this little biplane, and the pilot's in the front, we're in the back, wearing goggles and a helmet, and we took off. It was so exciting, and I loved it so much that when we landed, I said to the pilot, oh, this is fantastic. Where'd you learn how to fly? And just ask him all kinds of questions. And he asked me where we were from, and we told him, and he said, oh, there's a great airport right in Beverly, which was only like 10 miles from where we lived, 5 miles from where we lived. And I think that's the only thing my ex-wife did for me that was positive, said, go take flying lessons. And I did. And I showed up at the airport, and I don't think I was nervous at all, but I was apprehensive. What's going to be happening? And they walked me over to, that's my second and, not good. They walked me over to the flight line, take a look at the planes, teach you a little bit, and then I jumped in the plane. It was scary. It was scary at first, but it was exciting. As I was learning, you do all kinds of maneuvers. One of the maneuvers is shutting down the engine and learning what to do. That's scary. When I was on my flight test with the FAA examiner, he cut the engine. He said, okay. Now we live on the coast, so I found a beach. That would be a safe place to put her down. I'm coming down, 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 and I can see a guy walking his dog on the beach. And I saw the fellow look up at me as I'm coming down further and further. Then I saw the color of his dog's eyes. And I said to the examiner, can I recover? I'll tell you when. Just kept going. And I kept looking at him and said, can I recover? I'll tell you when. Finally, he said, all right, recover. And then I was able to pull out of there. It was exciting. It was very exciting. Living in the Northeast, you've probably heard the expression, if you don't like the weather, wait a minute. You ever hear that expression? Can you imagine what that's like in the sky? Be flying along, and all of a sudden, the sky turns black. You pick up the radio and you say to the air traffic control, what's happening? I don't know. And the next thing you know, there's a storm. So you find a place to put her down. Aviation to me has been a very, very important part of my life and an amazing place. I'd like to go a little bit backwards and tell you about a story of my first solo flight. I was at the airport for a lesson and doing what we call touch and goes, where we land the plane and take off and land and take off over and over again. Did 2 touch and goes, and the instructor said, taxi over to the airport, to the ramp. So I taxi over to the ramp. He jumped out of the plane. He says, okay, go ahead. You're kidding me. I said, nope. So I taxied back over to the runway, gave it full power. And as the plane is going down the runway, I started praying. Lori would know what I'm saying. I'm saying, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu. I'm started praying in Hebrew until I got into the sky. And I kept it going until I was downwind. And then I was able to listen to my instructor tell me in my head, 1 degree of flaps. And I did that until whatever it was, till I got onto base and final and touchdown. The invigoration of doing that is tremendous. If you ever have an opportunity to expand your box and get outside and have some real exciting experiences, to me, there is very little that could be considered more exciting than doing something that nature doesn't really allow, defying gravity. Get out there, try flying. Now, Lori promised me that she would fly with me. She's taken back that promise. Now, you're all witnesses. We're going to be in Florida where there's some great airports and some nice planes. Lori, you going to fly with me in Florida? I can only try. Who wants to go for a ride? Okay, I've got 3 people. Yes, let's do it and get in the sky and have a little bit of fun. After all, I can make believe we're going to crash. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Rick. All right, well, we're going to move on to our second section, which is my favorite, which is table topics. And Doug will be leading this section, so please help me welcome Doug.
I can get off of mute. So thank you, Madam Toastmaster. It's now our impromptu speaking session, so it's time to get some talk going. Now, we are in the holiday season, so I thought I would ask some questions that relate to the season. And one thing that happens certainly for people who observe Christmas is gift giving. But even for Hanukkah or others, you can give gifts, and they can be given at any time of the year, and it's Rick's birthday. So we should have a gift for him as well. At least we think. That's a gift in a way. Because not every gift has to be purchased commercially. In fact, the best gifts can be handmade or crafted personally in some way. And I'd like to ask a volunteer for the first question. I see Kelly smiling. Kelly, tell us about a gift that was handmade that you received.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. A gift that I received that was handmade. I'm going to go really far back, staying with the theme of Rick, where I have had quite a few years on this planet. So about 51 and a half years ago, there was a gift that was made called life for me. And in that moment, there were challenges, there were definitely problems with it. I was born and my mom didn't do too well after, so I didn't actually get to meet my mom for the next couple of days. But what did happen was I ended up with this gift wrapped package of 3 older brothers. Now you may say, is that a gift? I may even say, is that a gift? And with therapy, it can be, I promise you. So I was definitely born into this world in such a way where I was given enough adversity to continue to try to build as much as I could. But I would say that the one gift that I've had from 51 and a half years ago is to still have my mom around to where I can say the phrase, I was born ready. And she is very quick to let me know that that might not have been true because she was there. Back to you.
Thank you, Kelly. Since I'm doubling as the timer, I just got to write that down too. So now that's definitely a unique perspective on a handmade gift. Now for our next speaker, and I see Lori has unmuted herself, so thank you, Lori. I'd like you to tell us about a gift, a handmade gift that you made for somebody.
Mr. Topics Master and fellow Toastmasters. Well, I love to buy art and handmade things. So I have many handmade gifts that I have purchased over the years for myself and others. Now, the number of handmade gifts I have made myself, I'm sure I could count on one hand, possibly one or two fingers. I do remember a few years ago at a previous company, one of the employees on the women's forum that I had helped to create, this employee was very, very creative, and she used to bring crafts to the meetings for us to make things. And I made some handmade cards. We had little things we glued on them. She had all these little tools to punch, to make perforations and zigzags and all kinds of things. Little glue to stick things on and buttons for decoration as well. Oh, I have about a half a dozen of these cards that I made. I think I have gifted 2 or 3 of them, and I still have 3 left. There were, in fact, one of them I do recall was for Christmas. Somehow, though, I turned it into a Hanukkah card. It was, because she also had all these rubber stamps, and it was a stamp of almost tiered like a wedding cake, only it was presents that were wrapped. So a real large one at the bottom, and then smaller and getting smaller up to a little one at top with a ribbon. So it's kind of in the shape of a Christmas tree, but it was really just presents wrapped in a pyramid. So I decided mine was not going to be red and green. I made it blue and yellow, which are Hanukkah colors, and I used it for a Hanukkah card and wrote Happy Hanukkah on it. I haven't really made too many others. I have many more really, really nice things that other people have made. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lori, for telling us about some of the things that you've made. I think everybody's done some kind of handmade gifts at some point. Actually, my stepdaughter, she can draw, so she's made all kinds of handmade greeting cards for people. Cool. Another holiday tradition is in the realm of food. In the United States, which I think we all are right now, we just had Thanksgiving a couple weeks ago, and certainly food plays a big part. But in other festivals, there are traditional foods of all sorts. You get together, you eat, you have a great time. Hopefully, depends on your family. So I would like to ask Trisha, tell us about your favorite holiday food.
Oh, goodness. Well, I don't know if it would qualify as a holiday food, but one of my mom's dishes that I loved dearly was lemon chicken. And whenever I would come home from college, my mom was sure to make lemon chicken. Now, what accompanied lemon chicken was my second favorite dish, which was orange rice. So lemon chicken with orange rice. And back before carbs became my enemy, I would often make this anytime I had guests in my house. And I would make orange chicken and lemon rice, or lemon chicken and orange rice. And people would always compliment me on how they went together and ask me how to make the orange rice. So the secret to orange rice is fairly simple. Substitute 1 cup of water for 1 cup of orange juice, and thus you have orange rice. And it has a very slight citrusy taste to it and smells a little orangey, but it pairs very well with anything lemon and or something that would have fruit in it. I wouldn't suggest that it would go with gravy or anything other of that sort. But those are my favorite dishes, and my mom would make sure that she had them on the table anytime I would come home from college. And I haven't had it in many, many years, but I will always treasure this recipe. And perhaps if you came to visit me, I would whip up a batch. Thank you.
Thank you, Trisha, for telling us about your mother's lemon chicken and orange rice. Those actually sound very good. Just got to make a note here. Okay, how are we doing for time right now? I think we're still good. So I'll ask Dawn. So tell us about a holiday tradition that you or your family or your friends like to do every year, and for what holiday?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. My favorite holiday tradition, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's the top of mind one right now, is every year we have Christmas Eve all together, which is my side of the family. So sometimes we do holidays with my husband's side of the family, which are no games involved at all. My side of the family likes to do games, and my mom in particular likes to play bingo. So we have Christmas Eve bingo every year, where we have multiple bingo games because we need more bingo boards and more bingo cards than what come in one bingo game. So each year we get together and we play bingo, and my mom spends a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of effort and throughout the year going out and finding little prizes, little gifts that she can put in little bags attached to a string. A red string is for the girls and a green string is for the boys. So you have to go to find the right color string, and you pull the string, and then whatever bag's attached to it. That way you don't know what bag you're getting, right? Like the size is all different. She spends a lot of time and a lot of effort doing that. And I find it to be one of the funnest things that we do. And last year I even found myself making game boards, the bingo game boards for my grandmother, who has a really hard time seeing the little game boards. I'm like making gigantic bingo cards so my grandma can play. And she loved it, and we do that together as a family. So that's one of the things that I do look forward to. And mostly I look forward to seeing just how competitive people can be over playing bingo. It's just like the regular bingo halls where the people are screaming at each other, except for it's family. So that's what I enjoy. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Dawn, for telling us about the games and the bingo tradition. That sounds great. A tradition my family has had since before I was born comes on Christmas. We do a toast, but this is kind of a special toast because it can be done worldwide, and it's done at exactly the same time for wherever you are. So you got to take your time zone into account when you do the toast. I think this came from my mother's family moving from England into Manitoba, to Winnipeg. So there's a several hours time difference there. And while it might be 8 p.m. in London, it was several hours earlier. I think it was 3 p.m. in Winnipeg, so that everyone can toast at the same time, and even if it's somewhat virtual. Now, do we have time for one more question to let everybody have a topic?
Yes, we do.
Well, In that case, I will ask Rick to tell us about the holiday you consider the most important to you and your family.
Mr. Topics Master, thank you for the question. And that is a tough question to answer. What do I consider the most important holiday? I suppose my birthday. No. For me, I think the most important holiday that I enjoy, and I can't say that everybody in the family enjoys it as much as I do, is probably Rosh Hashanah, the New Year. It's not necessarily festive, but to me it's a new beginning, and it's an opportunity for us all to be together. We usually have a meal the night before, Erev Rosh Hashanah. And I think the reason why it is a really important holiday to me is because I always have the memories of, as I was growing up, being with my grandparents and cousins and the whole family being together. Unlike Thanksgiving, which we usually celebrate with my cousin, and other holidays throughout the year, Rosh Hashanah is not only brings those memories back, but also the religious significance, something that is very touching to me. I would say it's the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah. Thank you for the question and the opportunity to me to really think that through and give you an honest answer, Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you, Rick, for giving us a thoughtful answer. I really appreciate that. I'm curious, for the Jews, do you make resolutions for the Jewish New Year?
No, but what we are doing during the Jewish New Year is we reach into the past. We would apologize to people for any way we may have offended anyone, or not been as good a person as we could have been, so that we start the year off in a clean slate.
It's a holiday of reflection leading toward forgiveness, asking for forgiveness for Yom Kippur.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, one year for New Year's, I said, I'm not going to make any resolutions this year. And then I'd realized I'd already broken it by making.
That one.
Yeah. I will now return things to our Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Doug, for those very festive and interesting reflective questions. We'll now move on to the last portion of our meeting, which is evaluation, which is the most important part of Toastmasters meetings, I believe, in my opinion. I like to say it's the bread and butter of Toastmasters. We were talking about food earlier. And Lori will be in charge of this portion of the meeting. So please help me welcome Lori.
Thank you, Trish. I agree that it's one of the more valuable parts of the meeting. I like your little thing about the bread and butter. I always share that, to me, the evaluation portion of the meeting is the hidden gem of Toastmasters, where we learn the art, because it is an art, of giving feedback in a constructive way that benefits the speaker. I consider that an art, and when I share about it to new prospects, I tell them that when you develop the art of giving feedback, you can use that with your partners, your spouses, your children, your parents, people at work. It's a very good skill to have. Now for my evaluation portion of the meeting, I'll just mention a few things. We started the meeting on time. I think before we started the recording, we greeted Rick with a happy birthday song, which was nice. Dawn opened the meeting and read our mission statement, and then Trisha, as our Toastmaster, noticed some roles that needed to be filled and got some volunteers for that, and we got the meeting started with Dawn as our all counter and Doug as our timer, leading into our speeches. So for Dawn's speech, we have Kelly as the speech evaluator. Kelly, please share your thoughts for your 2 to 3 minute evaluation, and then lead us in a round robin for the rest of us to provide feedback. Kelly.
Thank you. I would be honored to do that, Madam General Evaluator. So first of all, wonderful job, Dawn, with the speech. The purpose of this project for the member is to practice delivering social speeches in front of club members. So that's what Dawn was doing with this. And we were looking for a well-organized, well-delivered speech with appropriate content for the type of social speech. In this case, it was a celebration. It was a toast and a celebration. Now, I love what Dawn did with this. She took what we were doing that was set up before the meeting and wrapped that in. So we were already engaged in what she had pulled into it. But what I think was also brilliant about what Dawn did was she took something about Rick that we might not have thought of or known and actually did some research and brought that into the conversation as well. And to say something that we might not know, first of all, if we do know it, we're more engaged. And then if we bring in something that we don't know, we're even more engaged. So I thought that was a brilliant way to take what's known and what wasn't necessarily known of something that Rick has done. I think the speech was well developed. I think there were a lot of fantastic aspects to how the speech was put together. And I also think that Dawn has mastered eye contact. There is no fear in Dawn. She just is always present with us, and you can just feel her presence. I want to bring up something that might be good for all of us as we take a look at this. And I'm going to use the whiteboard for this. So you can see the whiteboard now, correct? All right. So here's something that happens in Chinese language, in Mandarin. They have a word that could be exactly the same letters, and those letters might have any of these accents above it. And they'll say it. In the first one, it might be the next one, or I think this is a great model for how we handle doing a speech. In the first one, well, let's skip that first one for right now. This one could easily be a funeral. Can you imagine how that might be the case? That you'd want to just kind of keep it moderate and start at the beginning and end at the end, and you're leaving people sort of where they are. In some cases, it might even be this one. But you can imagine that if you want to leave somebody, so you start your speech with the end in mind. In the case, and this was not like a funeral at all, so I don't want that to be mistaken, but I can imagine that if each of us wants to leave somebody on a high, you want to start low, start slow, build up, and end up bringing out the toast at the very end where all of us are ready to jump on our feet. So it might just be helpful to have these Chinese accents in mind to start your speech and end your speech where you want it. And in this case, maybe we want something a little more like this. But if you can imagine, a line can show you how far you want to go, where you start, where you end, and you're leaving people there emotionally. So I'm just giving that as a tip for all of us, but Dawn, fantastic job as always. And now I want to open it up to the group. Go ahead and just unmute yourself and go for it if you have something to share. Go ahead. Lori, did you want to share something for Dawn?
Sure. Sure. I loved Dawn's speech also, and I liked how she used the information about Rick's birthday as an opportunity to build it into an entire speech. So I thought that was really clever. But I also want to remark about Kelly's evaluation, which I think it was great, a wonderful lesson we just learned in the whiteboard lesson, especially that we're advanced Toastmasters, on how to think about where we want our speech to end before we start it, and if we want to end it on a high note, or if we want to go high and bring it low, or be even keel. So I think that will be really, really valuable. I know that Dawn always brings so much enthusiasm to her speaking, and I enjoyed that so much in her speech.
Excellent. Thank you, Lori. And Doug, you wanted to share?
Yeah. Dawn, I thought that you did a great toast and I enjoyed it, but I think this is something for both the Toastmaster and yourself as a speaker. I didn't realize, especially as a timer, that that was the speech. I thought you were just taking an opportunity to give a toast to Rick first. And so I didn't start the clock until partway in, because I'm realizing, oh, wait, this is the speech. So I think that communicating to the Toastmaster as part of your introduction to say, for her speech, Dawn is going to give a toast, would actually have been very helpful for me as part of the audience, and certainly as the timer. Although I certainly enjoyed the toast. I was listening.
Because Dawn had actually told me that it was going to be a toast, but it was secret.
Excellent. Do you have anything to add to that? Thank you, Doug. Do you have anything to add to that, Tricia?
No.
Okay. Rick, anything you want to share with us?
Helps if I unmute myself. I didn't expect that at all, obviously. And for me, it was really touching. I really loved to hear what Dawn had to say. It was very, very nice. I was just into it and enjoying what she said. So I wasn't in any way critiquing it. I was just sitting there enjoying. And thank you, Dawn. It was an enjoyable experience for me.
That's great. Thank you for all of your comments. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Kelly. For our next evaluator will be Tricia, who is evaluating Rick's speech.
Thank you very much. Rick, you did not disappoint. I have so many positive comments about your vocal variety. You took us on a plane ride with your vocal variety. You were high, you were flying, and we were just right along, sitting aside with you on this ride. Your energy, your enthusiasm, your hand gestures, just see the joy on your face that you experience while you're flying, while you're sharing this story and speech with us. There was just two things I saw or felt that you could work on to be even better storyteller and sharing stories with this. Is first,
Tricia, do you
yes.
want to try to continue in the third person?
Oh, yes. I feel that if Rick did not call attention to his mistakes, if he makes a mistake, don't call attention to it, because we might not have even noticed that he made a mistake, except he brought it up. And then the second thing I think that Rick could work on is, at least for today, it seemed that he was looking down off to the side for quite some time. Several times during his speech, he just off to the side and down. I'm sure it wasn't reading notes, because this is a personal story, but I just noticed that his eye contact was a little off today. So I just appreciate, or wanted to let him know that I noticed that his eye contact could have improved, and it is more difficult when we're on the online presence. But overall, I found it very, very enjoyable. I would feel completely safe to have Rick fly me around in the plane. But if he shuts the engine off, I don't know if I'll speak with him for a while. But other than that, I always enjoy listening to Rick telling his stories, and I look forward to hearing another one. Well, that will be the end of my evaluation. I will now open it up for round robin. Yes, Dawn.
Hi, oh, that's some feedback. Okay. So one of the things that I noticed and I was pleasantly surprised at it, was just the hand gestures that landing and taking off and landing and taking off. It was probably one of my favorite hand gestures that was very appropriate and kind of really matched the speech very well. And I enjoyed all of just hearing the stories and being in the seat with him and kind of experiencing what does it feel like to be a pilot. Yeah, so that's my feedback, and back to you, Tricia.
Thank you. Kelly?
I think this was a great example, and that's one of the things that Rick is so brilliant at, where I was drawing those lines. He takes us all over the Chinese alphabet. This is a man who can take us all through Mandarin as far as speaking certain languages. And I'm still going to throw that out, that all of us are so enthusiastic that we all start at the top and keep going. And yet you bring us down, bring us up, bring us down. I would still suggest start lower. Find a way to put yourself as low as possible. For us, all of us, that's going to be actually hard, so that you have that variation. Now, you do incredibly well, and I invite all of us to take a look at how low can we get so that we can bring people along the way and bring them to the top of the mountain from base camp, so to speak.
Thank you. Lori or Doug, do you have anything that you would like to add?
I don't really have much to add. I was kind of caught up with the speech and wasn't taking notes of specific things, which I guess in a way is a comment by itself. It was a very good job.
All right, thank you very, very much. I'll go ahead and return the lectern to our general evaluator.
Thank you, Trish, for your evaluation. We had two very good evaluators today who both pointed out things that they liked about the speaker's speech and areas for improvement, because that's what we're here for, is to hear those suggestions. I wanted to mention again how much I like what Kelly was bringing out to us on the whiteboard and paying attention to Mandarin lines. One suggestion I have for Kelly, Dawn mentioned a good feedback to Rick about hand gestures, and I know it's something that is more difficult for us in this little Brady Bunch square that we have. When Kelly speaks with so much enthusiasm, her hands are going like this so quickly. They're blurry. They're so blurry. And I think that watching the video of the club meeting would help Kelly notice. I guess we want to use our hands, but in slower motion so that it's not blurry. So, it's wonderful to see Kelly so expressive. That is just a suggestion for improvement on the gestures. I will also call upon my helpers for their reports. Dawn, how did we do for our counter?
Everyone did wonderfully. One of the things that I noticed that was just an additional thing that was happening for us is as a group, as a collective, because we are advanced Toastmasters, we use sounds like and they're expressive, but they can be a little bit relaxing, I guess. So just something to keep in mind as we're moving along. I did notice a couple of really wonderful things that the hidden gems of Toastmasters. Laura, you referred to the evaluations as that, and Tricia, the bread and butter of our Toastmasters Club, which is the general evaluations. I love those two things. I also enjoyed the fact that Trish commented on Rick's speech as he took us on a plane ride through his speech. And I thought that was a really good connection to what's going on in within the speech and within our club. And then the one other thing I wanted to mention was Rick said that kind of invited us to expand our box by flight, by considering this option of flying. And I thought that was a good connection to our mission of our club. So with that, back to you, Lori.
Thank you, Trish. Dawn. And Doug, our timer, how did we do?
We did quite well for time today. We had 2 speakers. Dawn was giving a 3 to 4 minute speech. She took 2 minutes and 2 seconds. And I did add extra time, like that 2 minutes includes extra time I added when I realized I hadn't started on time. So there could be some room to add more there. Rick, for 5 to 7 minute speech, spoke 6 minutes and 56 seconds, which is virtually spot on. Excellent. Table topics. Kelly was 1 minute 33. Lori, 2 minutes and 23. Trisha, 1 minute 58. Excellent. Dawn, 2 minutes 15. Rick, 1:43. For our speech evaluations, Kelly was 3 minutes 29 seconds for her evaluation, plus 2 minutes and 43 for the round robin. Trisha, 2 minutes and 13 for her evaluation, and just over 2 minutes for round robin. Back to you.
Thank you, Doug. I realized that I made some notes about the table topic session that I forgot to mention, so I'll come back to that. One of the things I noticed that all of the speakers did quite well during their table topics was to demonstrate the joy in what they were speaking about with laughter and smiling and really just beaming from within. I thought everyone did a really good job with that, and it again shows our comfort level in speaking off the cuff and with one another. So I enjoyed hearing about Kelly's handmade gift that she received, being born ready, and Trisha's favorite holiday food, lemon chicken and orange rice. I look forward to getting those recipes. Loved hearing about Dawn's holiday tradition of Christmas Eve bingo and the family tradition around bingo, and how never even imagined how one could prepare for bingo for months, but now I can picture it based on the details that Dawn shared. And also Rick sharing about Rosh Hashanah being his most important holiday. Overall, it was a great meeting and wonderful to see everyone. I'm so glad that we have this connection that we make, even if just on a monthly basis. With that, I'll turn the meeting back over to our Toastmaster, Trish.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, and Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, or whatever holiday you like to enjoy at this season of the year. And I will now turn the meeting back over to our president, Dawn Nacera.
Yay! And I'm going to stop recording. Yay, okay. I'm such a celebrator.